Hi everyone! Today we are talking about some scary fiction books that I would love to read. So if you've read these before, let me know if they're any good. So let's get into it. First of all, Psycho, a novel. I'm pretty sure this book is what inspired Bates Motel. I mean, the description literally says Norman Bates, so yeah. I never got to watch Bates Motel, I never got to see the movie or the series or whatever, but I always hear that it's really, really good. However, it's always different from the book, the movie's always different from the. Yeah. And I think I would rather read the book first before watching the series. Moving on, SKA, Serial Killers Anonymous. It's like group therapy for these like psychopaths, and I think one of the psychopaths ends up turning on all of them, but I don't know, I didn't read it yet. However, the description is pretty promising. Would love to read a story like that. It sounds pretty original. I mean, I never heard of a book where the killers bond together to make group therapy, and try to like contain their cravings. I also would like to read You Owe Me a Murder. 17-year-old Kim never expected to plot a murder, but that was before her boyfriend dumped her for another girl. Kim meets Nikki, a stranger on a plane who's more than willing to listen to Kim's problems. Nikki then decides to literally end Kim's boyfriend. So now Kim is blackmailed by Nikki to fulfill her end of the deal. Kim will have to commit a murder or take the fall for one. Like, what? That's insane. Yeah, I love plots that are really insane. I hate reading boring books, Like, I love when the plot is just, like, crazy like this. Speaking of really crazy plots, cows. I have to read this whole thing out because this is insane. One of the most outrageous, original, insightful books ever written on the subject of alienation and social decay. Cows is a violent, blood-soaked nightmare, a tale of love, self-empowerment, and talking cows. Hailed around the world as a cult classic, this novel is gritty urban horror. Like, this story just makes people like squirm and be like uncomfortable and be like shocked and like jaw dropping. Just like, this story is like just violence, death, crazy things. I don't know. I have no clue. Didn't read it yet, but like I don't know, the reviews, a lot of people seem like shocked about it, and the description also seems pretty shocking. Like, cows. What? I want to read it. Let me know if it lives up to the hype. I was walking around Barnes & Noble, and this book was laying in the wrong section, but I have always, like, had it on my list, but never got to read it, Because I found it on accident, because I was looking for horse books, and this one came up, and I was like, it's not technically a horse book, but it's horse, in the plot. And, yeah, it's a crazy play about this, like, character who just has this extreme fascination with horses, I think. It seems very original and crazy. But moving on, I Am Watching You. It's not on the top of my list, but, I wouldn't mind getting it and reading it, so yeah. Moving on, Pen Pal. In an attempt to make sense of his own mysterious and unsettled childhood memories, a man begins to reconstruct his past. As the games and adventures of his youth become engulfed by a larger story, he finds that it forms a tapestry of unbelievable horror that he never could have expected. Each chapter completes a different piece of the puzzle for both you and the narrator, and by the end of it all, you will wish that you could forget what he never knew. That sounds so fascinating! I want to read it. Also, this story called Perfume, it's not, like, shocking to me. I'm not, like, dying to buy the book, but there was a Netflix series called Perfume, and I really, really did like it. So if it's anything like that, then, I wouldn't mind reading this. However, I'm pretty sure Netflix canceled the next season of Perfume, and it was really annoying because I liked the first season, so why would you cancel the next season? Like, cliffhanger. Anyway. Diary of an Oxygen Thief. I think the stories are written, like, confidential, by people who hurt other people, and they basically explain what they did to people and how they are the way they are. Like, I think the first story is about this guy who explains why he likes to hurt girls, and, it sounds terrible, but it's, like, meant to be a terrible story. I think it's just supposed to be really creepy, I guess. I don't know if it's really a horror story, but I see people who watch a lot of horror recommend this book and this book series, so Speaking of, like, I guess creepy and horror type of stories, the You series. I have books 1 and 2, but I don't have the third one or the fourth one. I think a fifth one is being released, but I don't know. But basically, I would love to continue the series if I could. You know, it's always great to have the full collection. Not a fan of cliffhangers unless if I actually get to keep reading the story. I really, really do love this series. I think that season 1 was really great. Season 2 was pretty great. Season 3 was amazing. You know, like, season 1 for me in 2016, I think that was when that released, or 2017. I've really always loved Joe Goldberg. Like, just watching the story, it's just insane. The way the plot goes and everything. I think season 1 was the best. But basically, yeah. I just love how it's written and how it was directed. I think it's a really, really great series. It's like one of the only series I really do like, besides a few others. I do try to avoid like horror and stuff makes me paranoid. However, I really do like that series. Anyway, All Hallows. It's Halloween night. I love Halloween. I wouldn't mind getting this and reading it like on Halloween, or at least like in October. I really miss having good Halloweens or like good autumns. Like last year, Halloween was terrible because I got sick. Autumn wasn't that fun. It didn't feel right, you know? So I would really love to have a good like autumn Halloween this year and maybe read this book. Don't know. Moving on, The Obsession. I think this book is like inspired by you know, Joe Goldberg and all that, because it seems like it's pretty much the same. And, you know, that's cool and all. I think I rather would finish reading You first, though, before moving on to, like, you know, books that may have been inspired by that. I could be wrong, maybe it wasn't inspired. But, it seems like it could have been. I would also love to read American Psycho. Like, I watched the movie a few times, and I do like the movie. It's really weird. It's a really strange movie, you know? I think Patrick Bateman, I quote it sometimes, you know, because, like, some of the stuff he says is just, like, insane. Yeah, so I think I might read the book. And lastly, Damnable Tales, a folk horror anthology. I think it's just a book of, like, a collection of, like, old spooky stories, you know, witches, curses, village problems, ancient horror. Yeah, it sounds great. Like, I love that, like, type of story where it kind of, I think it takes place in, like, the, like, 1500s? I could be wrong, but you know what I mean? Like, think of, like, Salem and, like, I guess, like, that era. I guess, like, a lot of the stories that were made during that time, they just give, like, really interesting, I guess, plots. You know, because, like, a while back ago, I watched a series on Hulu that was, like, a bunch of, like, weird horror stories that were gathered from that time. And it's, like, just so strange the way they made, I guess, like, legends or, like, myths regarding, I guess, witches, demons. It was obviously a very, very sad time, of course. However, I do like reading about, like, horror and stuff like that. I try to avoid it, obviously. It's the folk horror. I love reading, like, folk horror, mythology, you know, folklore. It's, like, creepy stories you could read when you're camping, you know, to make you paranoid of the forest. Like, stuff like that, you know. I hope all of that made sense. I feel like I never make any sense. But basically, yeah, folklore, mythology, demonology, love reading about that stuff. And I'm pretty sure these stories are from the 1500s or like 1400s. Like the witch panic type of era. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I will see you guys next week. Bye.